Eagles fans are excited about the Super Bowl. But remember when they had doubt about Jalen Hurts being drafted and skepticism about the hiring of head coach Nick Sirianni? Well, what can we learn about that and how it relates to the doubt and skepticism in our own lives? Let's unpack it.
This is the Unpacking It podcast, where we relate big sports stories to life and biblical truth. Our mission is to challenge, encourage, and inspire you to follow Jesus and become more like him with sports conversations that truly matter.
That's what I'm talking about!
Coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, I just want to thank you guys one last time for being here. It's the best day ever.
Here is the president of Unpacking It Ministries, Bryce Johnson.
Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast, where we unpack parallels, metaphors, and topics in sports that relate to life and faith. I'm Bryce Johnson, joined by my co-host Luke Heaton. On today's episode, we are unpacking doubt, skepticism, jumping to conclusions, and the importance of giving God a chance. We'll take a look at the Eagles and how fans are reminded that they should have given a chance to Jalen Hurts, to Nick Sirianni. But when things started out for both those guys, fans weren't really excited about those two. So we'll take a look at all of that today. We're going to have a blast. Really appreciate you being a part of the show. For everybody listening on podcast platforms, we're everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Thanks for listening there. We are excited to be on Fig Tree TV. It's a channel where faith and family meet. And so that's one of the new platforms this year that you can now access in a new way. Also, all of our viewers on YouTube, we thank you and everybody that watches us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Glad to have you a part of the show today. You can always email me, bryce@unpackingit.com. Be sure to check out that website, unpackingit.com. And on this show, we unpack a devotional that we wrote and sent out through email, posted on our website. And if you would like to receive that written version in your email inbox, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can sign up for free. Go to unpackingit.com, and it's designed to encourage, challenge, and inspire you to follow Jesus and become more like him. So check that out, unpackingit.com. We are brought to you by Sugar Creek Coffee. sugarcreekcoffee.com. Be sure to use the promo code UNPACK. You'll save some money on your order. And here's what's awesome. At Sugar Creek Coffee Roasters, they specialize in handcrafted, small batch, artisan roasted coffee. In other words, it's delicious. And they don't roast until you actually place an order, so you can be assured that the freshest roasted coffee is delivered to your door. They believe once you experience their fresh roasted coffee, the difference will be evident, and you will realize why they're so passionate about handcrafted, small batch, artisan roasted coffee. sugarcreekcoffee.com. Use that promo code UNPACK. All right, let's say hello to Luke Heaton. And as we gear up for this year's Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs, I know I'm fired up. But today, Luke, we're going to unpack Eagles fans, but let's face it, we're all guilty of the response and reaction that we have to remind Eagles fans that they had just a few years ago when Jalen Hurts was drafted and Nick Sirianni was hired. For you, do you remember what your response to both of those situations was?
Gosh, well, I certainly didn't match or meet the fire in the belly that Eagles fans had with how disappointed they were. Because I liked Jalen Hurts. In college, he was a gamer, great leader, tough as nails, successful at 2 programs. But if I'm being honest, I had no idea that he would be doing this. I was reading through his draft profile this morning, and everyone was saying, has potential to grow, but could be a good backup. Maybe rounds 2 to 3.
Like Taysom Hill.
Yeah, like Taysom Hill can use his legs. I heard a lot of Tim Tebow comparisons. He is tough, game similar to Tim Tebow, but a little better thrower. The idea that he could be in the MVP conversation is, I certainly had no chance, but I was a little more kind in my response than Eagles fans.
That's right. So I look back at Twitter and some of the responses that jumped out. This is a joke, right? Oh boy, that's a dumb pick. Join me in pain, Philadelphia. Completely indefensible. And so that was to the reaction to Jalen Hurts being drafted. Of course, Carson Wentz was there at that time, had the big contract, and so Hurts was drafted to be a backup. Now, all these years later, MVP candidate, got his team on the way to the Super Bowl. Then when it came to Nick Sirianni, a little bit of an unknown coach. And so, the Eagles won a Super Bowl just a few years ago with Doug Peterson. They move on from him. They bring in Sirianni. He got off to a bad start because it was a weird press conference. He had some funny answers initially, didn't seem real comfortable in that setting. And so now all of a sudden, Eagles fans at that time, they just were filled with kind of doubt and thinking, there's no way this is going to work out. I don't see it. There's no way this turns out well. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Those were some of the responses at that time. And then he had that funny press conference about the flower. So he was using that metaphor, and that rubbed some Eagles fans the wrong way as well.
But he also wasn't like he's just kind of in a league of his own because he's not the seasoned veteran coach. Oh, this guy's done it before, but he's not also the Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan type. Like he's young, but he's not like those guys. He's just kind of different personality-wise, experience-wise, skill-wise. So he was like, who is this guy? For an Eagles franchise who is one of the premier franchises in the NFL. This isn't a small market team. This is a huge market team with very passionate fans.
Very opinionated fans. And so,
yes.
So as soon as, they start 2-5, they were very skeptical. Like, wait a second, how's this going to really work out? They were questioning his play calling. And now what's so funny is a couple years later, Sirianni's a hero in Philadelphia. Yeah. He fits well there. The fans are behind him. And of course, the fact that they were the number one seed in the NFC and marched their way very convincingly to the Super Bowl, blowing out the Giants, blowing out the 49ers. And so we'll see how they do against Kansas City. And so here's the takeaway for us as fans and looking at, specifically Eagles fans, but we can all relate to this when there's a coach hired for our team, a new coach or somebody drafted, we're prone to jump to conclusions and make snap judgments right away. Right away, no, not going to work out. No, bad pick. Oh, bad hire. This is going to be bad. And so what it really speaks to is that we lack that trust and hope, and we just have a tough time believing in certain players or coaches, and so our thoughts immediately go negative. But what do we learn from this as well, especially with the Eagles now in the Super Bowl? How important it is to actually give a player or a coach a chance to show what they can do before jumping to conclusions. We got to give them a chance.
Yeah.
But we as fans think we know best right away.
Yeah. I mean, to bring it home, everyone remembers my hero, Dirk Nowitzki, the hero of Dallas. His career did not start like Luka's career. It was ugly early. Mm-hmm. It was bad. He had a lot to learn. And I'm sure, I wasn't old enough to necessarily remember the heat of the moment, but I'm sure many fans were thinking, who is this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Who is this guy from Germany we just drafted? He's awful. How can he play in this league? And then he ends up scoring over 30,000 points, leading the Mavs to their first NBA championship. But that's an example of it's easy. It's easy to write off a player, to have the conclusion, this is for sure truth. In the moment, with the emotions, we know better. And I'm very glad we were wrong about Dirk.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's a wonderful example and kind of the second lesson learned from this Eagles situation as well, is that instead of writing a player or coach off right away, we give them the benefit of the doubt. And we say, all right, let's see what's going to happen. And then the third thing is, instead of already making up our minds that a player isn't the answer, the coach isn't the answer, right away after the first time we watch them play, or after initial losing streak, they get off to a slow start, or a shooting slump, or a throwing slump, whatever it is. What we need to do is remain patient and actually give them a chance to come through in time. And even for the Eagles, they didn't have to wait long. Just give them a little bit of time and see how it plays out. And so when we relate this to the Bible and our own lives, and really, make this applicable to our own lives, here's the reality. We're all prone to jump to conclusions and make snap judgments, especially when it comes to difficulty that pops up in life, unforeseen circumstances. Out of the blue, you lose your job. Out of the blue, somebody is sick in your family, or you personally, and oftentimes our initial snap judgment is negative, right? It's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. There's no way this works out. There's no way that this is going to be a good thing. I don't see it. And what we're really demonstrating in that, when we respond negatively, or the signs of doubt come through, which really is worry and fear, negativity, or anxiousness, that's sort of indicating that there is doubt and skepticism about how we're viewing a situation that we find ourselves in, a tough spot, a tough circumstance. And so if that's our reaction, similar to Eagles fans, oh, there's no way are you kidding me? I don't know what's going to happen. It's worry, it's fear, it's negativity, it's anxiousness. And what we're actually saying, Luke, is that we aren't trusting God. And so that's sort of the indicator in the back and forth. It's like, wait, am I going to trust God in the situation, or am I going to jump to conclusions and react negatively?
Well, it's a helpful reminder, because certainly you and I aren't the only ones that experience this. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, our faith, though we would like it to be perfect, we would like it to be always continually trusting in God, that's just not the reality. We have doubts, we have skepticism, we lack trust in God. But what I'm encouraged today is, I just think, one, we're going to unpack reasons for that and how we can improve on that. But two, I think it's important to think right now is, God has way more compassion on our doubts than we think he does. Which is an encouraging reminder to me. Is it's easy for myself, not only when I don't trust God, but then to take it further, to beat myself up about it. Like, oh, how can I not be trusting God right now? Are you kidding me? But in those moments, I have to receive God's grace and think, you know what? The compassion of God toward me is way more than I'll ever get him credit to. He's not this disappointed father. He's this compassionate, I know it's hard. I know your faith isn't perfect, but thankfully it's not even up to my faith that I get through things. It's ultimately up to God
to give you the strength and the ability to have that faith to get through, instead of sliding into the worry, the fear, the negativity, the anxiousness, and all those thoughts of, well, how is this going to work out? Mm-hmm. What I don't see it. I don't know how this turns out well. There's no way. I don't think. And really, what we're saying when we do have fear and doubt is, we're saying, I don't think God's capable. And we don't say that out loud. We don't say, oh, I don't think God's capable. But if we're looking at a tough situation and we're just beside ourselves and thinking there's no way, we're actually saying, yeah, I don't think God's capable of this. Versus when we do have the faith and the trust in him to say, he is capable, he is faithful. And we think back to all those times in the past that we doubted, and he still came through. He still gave us the strength to get through. Well, then that helps us now in the newest circumstance that we face. And even though, the anxiousness and the worry and the fear indicates that we're actually saying, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. We get impatient. And what it says is, well, I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think I know better. I think I think he should do this by this time. I think it's in my timing, in my way. I want him to do this. And so the big takeaway for us today, as we, kind of think about the Eagles and fans, is you got to give him a chance. You got to give God a chance to come through.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give him a chance to show you how good he is.
Yep.
And give him the opportunity to reveal, his glory in a difficult situation, in a change in life that we're facing, a transition. Give him a chance.
And I think, to your point on when we think, we have our own idea of who God should be, that's what leads to a lot of not trusting God, is because one of my an older guy I know said this to me. He said a huge downfall for humans is ascribing to God what we think God should be, who we think, our own idea of God that we've created in our minds, rather than gazing our eyes, worshiping God who he's revealed himself to be. And when we ascribe in our mind what we've thought of, this is what a perfect God is, this is what God should be doing, this is what God should be allowing, should not be allowing. When we ascribe that to God rather than believing on who he's revealed himself to be, of course we can't trust him. Because we can't even come close to conjuring up a perfect God. God, who he's revealed himself to be, is perfect. He is worthy to be trusted. Our own fallen idea of what God should be doing is always going to fall short.
That's thought provoking, and there's even another parallel in there in how we think we know what the perfect coach is or what the perfect quarterback is.
Yeah,
and oftentimes it goes a little bit differently than what we think as fans, and it speaks to our limited understanding and the ability to grasp, especially with God, his power, his perfection, his holiness, and all that. So what do we do then when we do have doubt and we do have skepticism about how God is going to show up and move within a situation that we are in? Well, the first thing is we got to trust God and live by faith. And so 2 Corinthians 5:7 in the Amplified Version, it says, "For we walk by faith, not by sight, living our lives in a manner consistent with our confident belief in God's promises." And so we trust in God's character, we trust in God's word, which includes his promises. And that's what we hang on to. And we remind ourselves every day. And we meditate on scripture, we reflect on scripture, we unpack scripture, and allow that to help us, and allow God's strength to help us walk by faith. Walk, right? That's the key. Step by step with him.
What a way to have peace. Just thinking of what it means to walk by faith. Because to walk by faith means you're trusting in ultimately the sovereignty and power of God, that, you know what? I can have peace right now. I mean, I can really trust that, Romans 8:38 is always thrown out there as God's going to work all things out for
8:28.
Romans 8:28 for God's going to work all things out according to his purposes for those who love him. Well, that's absolutely true. And when we're in a moment that's difficult to trust God, to be able to respond and say, you know what? God's powerful. God is sovereign. God truly has everything in control. And if I really do believe his word, that he's going to work all things out for my good, which ultimately is his good, not my selfish good, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And the peace that comes with that is, it's the peace that surpasses understanding.
No, absolutely. And in Hebrews 11:6 in the Amplified, it tells us, "But without faith, it is impossible to walk with God and please him. For whoever comes near to God must necessarily believe that God exists and that he rewards those who earnestly and diligently seek him." And so the key for today, I think, is seek him. So when we have the doubt, when we have the skepticism about our circumstance and the tough situation that we find ourselves in, or the uncertainty or the unknown, are we going to seek him? And are we going to come to him in faith, in confidence to say, God, I know you're there. I know you're good. I know you love me. Again, back to the promises, reminding ourselves of those promises of who he is and what he's done and what he says he will do. And then walk with him with faith.
And this brings me back to why I wanted to talk about the compassion of God towards us when we are not trusting him, or when we are lacking in areas of faith. The story in the Gospel of Mark of a son is possessed by an evil spirit, a demon, and his father brings him to Jesus, or he's brought to Jesus, and Jesus removes or casts out the demon. And Jesus is talking about belief. Do you believe I can do this? And the father says, I believe, help my unbelief. That should be our prayer every single day. But the point is, when we are having these doubts, when we're struggling to trust in God, that's not time to pull back. That's time to actually, like you said, seek God, draw near to him, because he's not this, what are you doing? You don't trust me? No, he's inviting us to trust him, and he's compassionate when we have lack of trust. We should be telling him every day, and in these moments, God, I believe, help my unbelief. Or God, I'm really struggling to believe this right now. God's not going to cast us away. He's eager to bring us in because we're his child, and he's calling us to believe.
And the more we seek him, then our faith strengthens and builds. And so, all right, what's kind of the other thing that we can do when we do have doubt and skepticism? Truly surrender. Truly surrender every aspect of our lives and give God a chance to take over. Because when we start thinking like, I don't know if he's going to come through in this area of my life, and we sort of try to control things, or we hold on to things so tightly, but what would it look like to really surrender every area of our life? And sometimes you have to surrender over and over because we try to grab it back. No, I'm going to take over. You're taking too long. I'm going to take over this. Ooh, I don't know if I trust you anymore. I'm going to take over it. No, it's a surrender. It's a daily surrender. All right, God, I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't see it. I can't see it in my limited understanding. But back to our point about trusting him, I trust you and I surrender it to you. I'm giving you a chance to take over. I'm giving you a chance to come in and do what only you can do in this situation. I trust you. And so fully surrender. And then the last thing, oftentimes when things don't make sense on the surface, will we be willing to wait to see what God has in store and remain patient? And again, give God a chance to show us what he's capable of. And back to the fans. Fans are impatient. We know this. We're all impatient. And this plays out in our own lives as well. And this is we could talk the whole show about patience, and I'm sure we will at some point soon. But we have to be willing to wait and see what God can do, versus getting anxious and fearful and worried. Oh, it's taking too long. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. No, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to surrender to him, and then I'm going to be patient for him to show up and show us what he's capable of. Yep. We got to give him a chance. We got to give him time to work out what he's going to do. Of course, he can do it in a second. He can do anything in a second. He's that powerful. We believe that, but there are purposes in the delay oftentimes that we've got to trust him in that as well.
That's the hard part, is the last two, is really surrendering and being patient. Because us prideful people want to step in, especially we think not to just play stereotypes, but men, we want to fix things. I think of all the older men who have offered me wise counsel as being a young married husband is, hey, when your wife is upset about something, she's talking about something, don't respond with the solution immediately. Just listen. But that translates to, man, when there's a problem, when we don't want to be patient. We don't want to wait to see how God's going to work it out. We want to step in with our own strength. We don't want to truly surrender anything because we kind of hold on to something and say, I don't know. like you said, can God really do this?
Mm.
Is God going to do what I want him to do?
Mm.
But that's not even the right question. It's God's going to do what's good and what's best and what's truly wise, uh, in contrast to what's foolish, likely on our end. But it's hard to surrender everything because it really demands trusting that God is all powerful and that he's all good, that he's going to do the good thing, which may not be our own fallen idea of what is good and our own selfish desires.
That's right. And it's having that heart posture of I trust your way is best. I surrender to your way. I want to go your direction, and I'll wait and be patient for you to do what you want to do in me, through me, and through this situation, whatever the result is. I'm surrendered to you. I trust you, and know that you're going to come through like you always do. And unlike coaches and players who they don't always come through, because sometimes we make snap judgments about players and coaches, and it's true they don't work out. The difference
Like
is
the Broncos
today,
situation this season.
the difference for us as we parallel this to our faith and life. God is always faithful, and he's always worthy to be counted on as he leads us to victory. And ultimate victory is in Christ. And so we move forward with confidence and expectancy because we know that he always comes through for us. And so we remind ourselves of the past, the faithfulness. And so we move forward in confidence, and we give him a chance. We give him a chance again. All right, God, I give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance to show up because I know that you always have, and I know that you always will. And so as we end today, we don't always see what God sees or know what he knows. And so it's silly for us to react so negatively when circumstances pop up before really giving him a chance to reveal his goodness and glory. And so Psalm 34:8-9 says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good. How happy is the person who takes refuge in him. You who are his holy ones, fear the Lord. For those who fear him lack nothing." I saw this translation, kind of a unique translation, but it's the easy to read version, translates those verses this way: "Give the Lord a chance to show you how good he is. Great blessings belong to those who depend on him. The Lord's holy people should fear and respect him. Those who respect him will always have what they need."
Mm-hmm.
And so, Luke, as we wrap things up, what's your big takeaway? Something to kind of pack up with us as we pack up the show today.
Yeah, just you talking about surrendering. That's just it's convicting, and I want to reflect the next few days on, what am I not surrendering right now? And especially in my life, as I think of what I want to do in the next couple of years, where Madeline and I want to live, all sorts of big life decisions that are going to come up in the next year or 2 years for us. There's certainly a lot of things I haven't surrendered yet, maybe things I'm not even aware of, but just you talking about that has kind of stirred my heart to, I had to really consider and reflect on, what am I holding with a closed fist right now that I need to have open hands?
That's right. That's right. For me, when things look bleak and we get just unfortunate news, instead of jumping to conclusions, or we see change in life and we go, I think I know I don't see this working out, it's negative, and we write it off, or we write, really what we're saying is we're writing God off. Instead of doing that, and it's just giving him a chance. Let's give him a chance, even when things take longer than they should. We continue to trust him and give God a chance. Give God a chance to show up, come through, and lead us to victory. So that is today's topic, and would love to know your thoughts on this and the areas that you struggle with doubt and skepticism. You can reach out to me, Bryce, at unpackingit.com. This is a new version of our show and format, and so we're interested to hear your feedback as well. Would love to hear from you. So Any thoughts, suggestions, ways that we can serve and encourage you even better, let us know. Bryce at unpackingit.com. And also, as we continue to desire to challenge, encourage, and inspire sports fans, the more that you can share this podcast with your friends and people that you know and your networks, we're grateful for that. Also, rate, review, wherever you listen to this podcast is helpful as well. For Luke Heaton, I'm Bryce Johnson. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I've been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.